All right, welcome guys to the NBA live stream for Thursday's 9-game slate. Right now, we have a ton of news still up in the air. So, Hawks, basically the entire starting lineup is questionable. We're waiting on whether or not now Boucher might play. That would change some things from the Raptors, who'd go from an 8 to a 9-man rotation. So those are two big pieces of news. A couple other guys questionable. Again, Embiid, Jimmy Butler. So, there's still a lot up in the air. Going over, I guess recapping last night, I was 2 points away from a takedown, and Kelly Olynyk played 25 minutes. I needed 2 more points from Olynyk, and it would have been an extra, basically $1,000 for me. So that hurt when I saw those minutes for Kelly O, but it is what it is. Hope you guys had a good night last night. All right, so let's go over what we know so far today. There's a lot to go over. Let's see. Korkmaz probable. Basically all the main Hawks guys, Trey, Bogdan, Capella, Gallinari are all game time decisions right now. DeAndre Hunter available to play. LeVert is questionable, now out. That's huge for the Pacers. Also, Michael Porter Jr. out. Pretty significant. Let's see. DeAndre Jordan is questionable. Also, again, huge news, right? Let's see. Again, LeVert out. Aaron Holiday out. Boucher now questionable. So they're just throwing everything at us. Jokic probable. Let's see. Some of the stuff is for Friday. Do we have anything else here? Again, Atlanta guys, all game time decisions. Jimmy Butler game time decision. Miles Turner still out indefinitely. So let's go over these Vegas odds really quick. Yeah, it's definitely a wild one. What's going on, Patrick? How's it going, guys? Yeah, Pacers are thin. So going over the Vegas odds again. I knew that would be a high total one. Pacers, Bucks, a 242 over under. The tricky part about this one is it looks great, but now there's more blowout risk with LeVert out, right? You got Sabonis, and that's really it for the Pacers. So he's going to have a monster game if this game stays competitive. Let's see. What other games kind of stick out? The Denver-Minnesota game's over 230. And the Portland-Phoenix team's 236 as well. 8 news is pretty big. Could open up value and you got like Frank Kaminsky, maybe a Dario Saric. So, all right, we'll start off with the Clippers and the Hornets. On the Clipper side, it's still Kawhi Leonard for me. I like a good amount here at 8.4K. I think that is too cheap for this matchup. He's been involved with a lot of blowouts. The game against the Knicks, that game stayed close. He played 36 minutes. He shot awful. Still went for 42 fancy points. I think Kawhi, when he's fully healthy, and playing normal minutes, which he should here. I think we get about 35 minutes from him, and he should be about a 9.5K player. So I think he's underpriced. I do like Kawhi. The issue I have with Kawhi, and it's nothing with him, it's the start of this game, right? This game starts at 6 Central, and you're locked in, right? I want to leave myself flexibility right now, waiting on the Hawks, waiting on a lot of other stuff for Toronto, right? There's a lot of stuff in these kind of later games that we're waiting on. So this is the downside of Kawhi is, if we don't get that news before lock, I probably can't do it. Because, again, I want flexibility with my roster. So that's the issue there with Kawhi. The rest of the Hornets, the rest of the Clippers, there's no real standouts here. Zubac had a big game last game, but I don't think we have to go there. All right, moving on to Charlotte. Pretty simple. Tough matchup here. I'm not going to LaMelo or Rozier or PJ at that price. Devontae Graham's probably my favorite play at 5'9". We probably get about 30 minutes from him. We went for 46 last game. He's been playing well, when he's been out there. So Graham looks intriguing in the mid-range, but I'm not going to touch anything else. I will mention Cody Zeller just because I mentioned him last slate as a possible dart throw. He crushed at like 0.1% ownership. No one played him. He played 29 minutes. We know he's a good point per minute guy, but I'm not convinced they're going to need him to play a ton in this matchup. They might. Zubac and Boogie are, I guess, a bigger front court. But so you can take at least a dart throw on Cody Zeller, but I think there's better value right now with some other guys. All right. Oh, real quick, I'll ask guys. We're already at almost 200 viewers and 30 likes. If you're just coming in, if you could, leave a like button on the live stream. It helps me out a lot. Again, try to aim for 100. We've hit like 140 last couple live streams, so that does help. That is greatly appreciated from you guys. All right, Milwaukee and Indiana. So on the Milwaukee side, I really like Giannis Antetokounmpo at 10.9K. Been involved with some blowouts. I know he hasn't been playing huge minutes, but this is just a type of game where he might not even have to play big minutes if the game stays close, right? If we get like 33 minutes out of Giannis here, he can go for 70 in this type of matchup. The Pacers play no defense. I like Giannis here a good amount at the top. Drew and Middleton are more secondary plays. If you're full stacking the game, I could see it. Probably not going to get to any other value plays. So when Milwaukee's fully healthy, they're a tricky team for me to prioritize anyone else besides Giannis. Now to the Pacers. So this is where it gets interesting, right? LeVert out. Aaron Holiday out. How many healthy guys are you going to have? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They'll have 10, but I don't think Amita Brima or Cassius Stanley really play a ton. Keelan Martin's been playing a little bit more. This is. So I guess we'll start Domantas Sabonis at 10.7K. If they keep this game close, if the Pacers keep this game close, you could see an 80 fantasy point game from Domantas Sabonis. And I'm not kidding, because he's going to play probably 42 minutes if this game stays competitive. He's going to run the point guard, honestly. They have no other point guards besides T.J. McConnell. 15 and 13 assists 2 of the last 3 games. This is an up-tempo game, right? The Bucks are a good team, but they play fast, just like the Pacers who play. They're not great, but they play super fast and play no defense. So it's all the makings to a great game stack. There's just the blowout risk, right? So you got to factor that in. If you're worried about the blowout, you can obviously look elsewhere. But if this game stays competitive, I have a hard time seeing that Sabonis would have a bad game. I could see him just absolutely crushing this game stays competitive. Brissett at 5'6", it's just a price thing. Doesn't really stand out for me. Now, T.J. McConnell at 5'5". Again, they have no point guards. Now, he's been coming out the bench and playing about 25 minutes, but he might have to start here. If he does start, I think we probably get 35 minutes from T.J. McConnell. And if the game stays competitive, and if he does start, I think he's one of the best plays the slate. Would really, really like T.J. McConnell. Let's see. Justin Holiday. With no Aaron Holiday and Edmund Sumner, he probably starts. He probably plays over 30 minutes. I think he's a good value play, even though he's not the best point per minute guy. I think Doug McDermott should play about 30 minutes, even though I don't like rostering this guy because he's super reliant on the scoring. He is firmly in play. So those, 1, 2, 3, those 4, I think look really good for the Pacers. Again, a Keelan Martin might be getting a little bit too cute. Maybe 15 to 20 minutes on the bench. I guess viable. Goga, kind of the same thing. I think we got about 15 to 20 minutes off the bench there. Jakar Sampson, the flat mid, might get dusted off for a little bit, but not something I'm super looking to get to. And then Cassius Stanley probably will play the backup point guard, unless for some reason they just start him and they want to bring McConnell off the bench. I think Cassius is only viable if he gets the start at the flat min price. But yeah, this is a team. They're shorthanded. I really like this Pacers team. It's just a matter of can they keep it close. So it's a risk, right? High risk, high reward right now. Moving on to the Orlando Magic. There's just not much here for the Magic. Bamba currently questionable. If Bamba plays, I have no interest in anyone. If Bamba's out, I think you can take a shot on a guy like Wendell Carter Jr., especially if Capella's out, because then he might be matched up against an Okongo, maybe a Nathan Knight. So I can see taking a shot on Wendell Carter Jr. if there's no Bamba and if there's no Capella on the opposite side. But it's just the price points don't really make a ton of sense for these Magic guys. If you feel really good about someone, you can go there. But it's just one where I'm not really prioritizing anyone. Now, on the Magic side, it's just hard to say right now because everyone's questionable, right? Trey, Capella, Bogdan, Gallinari, all questionable. This is a game where you would think they don't really need them, right? So maybe if I had to lean, I would say I think there's a chance these guys don't play. If everyone that is questionable is out, then we got some really interesting plays here for the Magic. Then a guy like John Collins becomes the number one on offense. He probably plays 30 to 35 minutes. Would look really solid. A guy like Kevin Huerter, I don't love playing, but he gets a pretty big boost. He's only 4.7. DeAndre Hunter, I probably wouldn't play because he only played 14 minutes in his first game. So I'd probably stay away from Hunter unless we get news that there's no limit and he's starting. And then, I would assume probably Brandon Goodwin starts and plays big minutes. Would like him for value. Lou Williams might pick up a start too. So we would look to some value here for the Hawks if a lot of those guys are out. And then Congo, maybe he start. Where's Okongo? He's in the flat min price. If he picks up a start, I think we can look to him. So right now it's kind of just a wait and see for Atlanta. We should get that news somewhat soon. Locke is in about an hour and a half for that game. Let's see. What else do we got? Bamba game time decision. Embiid questionable. Cool. That helps no one. So, all right. Moving on to Philly and Miami. A game I don't have a ton of interest in. Two two teams that are slow, two teams that are good on the defensive end. So let's start it off with the 76ers. And Embiid is at 10-4, and he's questionable. If he plays, I think he's really the only one I would take the shot on as a contrarian spend up. But I think I prefer other stars. I would rather get to Jokic. I'd rather get to Giannis. I'd rather get to Sabonis on the slate. So nothing more than a contrarian spend up if he plays. If he misses, we can consider Ben Simmons, Tobias, and Dwight. But they're at price points in this matchup. It's just like they still wouldn't really stand out as an amazing place. Like I think there would be fine secondary options if Embiid is out. If Embiid plays, though, I have no interest in anyone else besides Embiid. On the Miami side, we're waiting on Jimmy. From what I've heard, it sounds like he's going to play. So with Jimmy most likely playing in this matchup, the price points on him and Bam are kind of just secondary options. Now, if Embiid misses, then I think you could at least consider Bam Adebayo because he should be able to feast against like a Mike Scott, a Dwight Howard. But if Embiid's in, again, I don't want to target centers against Joel Embiid. And then, like, again, Hero, Nunn, Dragic kind of out of play. Unless Jimmy does get scratched, then these guys are, I would say the same thing as the Philly guys, more secondary options because all three are healthy. All three probably play about 30 minutes, but I don't think one would really stand out to me. All right, so San Antonio and New York. On the San Antonio side, not a ton here. They got blown out last game. DeRozan and Murray are fine contrarian plays. I think Jakob Poeltl is still my favorite. He should play over 30 minutes in a close one. He's a guy that can do the peripheral stats, but I'm not really looking to the value here. All right, so let's move on to New York. On the New York side, I actually do like Julius Randle a good amount. He's been involved in a ton of bad matchups. Denver, Phoenix, the Clippers, the Lakers. This is finally a better matchup against the Spurs. We know he's going to play the massive minutes. We know we can go out and get a triple-double. And the prices come down to a point where it's like, okay, I think this is a pretty solid play in Randle. So I have interest in him in both formats. Barrett is always playable because of the minutes. Derrick Rose, I still have interest in off the bench. I mentioned I liked him last slate. He was unowned and went for 50. I still think he's a good tournament play here. He's going to play most likely over 30 minutes, and he's been a really, really productive guy off the bench. But I don't think I'm going to get to anyone else. Bullock, probable too. So it's like I'm probably not going to get to any of the value for New York. All right, Sacramento and Memphis. On the Sacramento side, Barnes doubtful, Bagley doubtful. Don't expect them to play. I think DeLon Wright and Buddy Hield are good tournament plays. I think my favorite would be DeLon of the two, just because he does more of the peripheral stats. He should play 35 minutes in this one. This is an up-tempo game. Back-to-back blowouts where he'll play 33. Again, I think in a competitive game, he probably pushes for 40. So I actually do like DeLon Wright. I think he's going overlooked on the slate. Don't mind Buddy either, but would prefer DeLon. Rashawn Holmes is at 6'9". It's just like at a price point where, yes, he can still have a good game, but there's too many good center plays for me to really get excited there. Again, Bagley doubtful, so Met 2 I think will be a popular value play, assuming he starts. And if he does start, I agree. I think he is a pretty solid value play. You know, a guy that can kind of do it all. So if Met 2 starts, I like him a good amount for value. I think Harkless is fine too. He's actually been playing pretty well of late. So Harkless, Met 2 for value. If you want to go to Davis off the bench for GPPs, I'm not going to talk you off him. He's been playing really, really well. But he's kind of priced to a premium, right? Do I want to pay almost $6K for Terrence Davis? Yeah, right. Just a strictly GPP play. All right. Yeah, getting popped on the back-to-back. I don't think. Yeah, that's like I don't know if I can stomach getting popped again. Another situation where again, 2 points away from a takedown. Either just give Kelly O his normal minutes, or actually have Jakob Poeltl and the starters play in a close game instead of getting pulled in a 10-point game with 9 minutes left, right? Oh, so frustrated. But, all right, Memphis, we're waiting on Jonas Valanciunas. If Jonas Valanciunas plays, I like Jonas Valanciunas a good amount. He, in games that are staying close, is playing 35 minutes. This game, foul trouble, that tilted me to no end because he was low-owned and on pace for 70. This game, played 36 minutes, went for 56, right? So, like, in close games where he's not in foul trouble, he's playing 35. So if JV plays, I like him a lot. If JV misses, then we can look to Ja Morant, who gets a pretty big boost when JV is off the court. Would like him for tournaments. And then the big. So Triple J at 5'9", probably plays about 30. The only thing you have to worry about with him is foul trouble. And then Tillman and Clark, I think would be pretty good value plays. Probably would prefer Tillman, assuming he does start. He only played 23 minutes, but that was a blowout. He didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter. So I think maybe in a close game he pushes for 30. So yeah, right now we're just waiting on Jonas Valanciunas for Memphis. 3 games left, Toronto and Chicago. So the tricky part now is Boucher got upgraded to questionable. And, like, can we talk about how he hadn't played in, like, a month? and comes in, and the Raptors are eliminated. They're not playing for anything. He plays 37 minutes. He played 30. I still cannot get over that. So this actually is somewhat significant because the Raptors would go from an 8 to 9 man rotation, which, would hurt the value a little bit. I still would have some interesting guys, but Boucher being in, and if he plays 37 minutes again, that hurts the rest of the Raptors. So if Boucher does play and we get news that there's no limits, he's full go, I assume we get similar minutes. And if that's the case, I actually do like Boucher. He's a good point per minute guy. I'm not scared of Chicago on the defensive end. And 37 minutes, you could see like a 50 bomb from Boucher here. So I actually like Boucher if he plays and we get normal minutes. Now, knowing how DFS has gone the last 3 or 4 days, Boucher will probably play. I'll probably pivot to get him in, and then he'll play like 15 minutes. Kem Birch, I just don't have interest in him at that price. It's 6'3". I'm not going to go to Kem Birch. God, I just hate this because if Boucher's out, Gary Trent Jr. is going to shoot the ball like 30 times, and he's going to be somewhat popular. And if he actually has a good shooting game, he can go for 50, but he can also go for 15 if he's not hitting a shot. So, I really don't like playing a guy like Gary Trent Jr. But he is for sure in play for tournaments. And if he gets hot, he's not afraid to shoot the ball, right? Malachi Flynn, I think we probably get about 30 minutes from him. He's a decent point per minute guy, can stuff the stat sheet. I think he's a pretty fair play in the mid-range. And then value, basically everyone's in play. Bembry, Watanabe, Harris, Stanley Johnson, Freddie Gillespie, they're all in play, especially if Boucher's out. If Boucher's out, it's an 8-man rotation. If Boucher's in, then it's a 9-man rotation, a slight downgrade to everyone. So just monitor it. But yeah, like guys like Bembry, Watanabe, Harris, Johnson, Gillespie are all in play. I don't know if there's one standout here, but I think, probably getting to one Raptor value is a smart way to go, especially if it's 8-man rotation. If it's an 8-man rotation, I might look to try to get 2. If it's a 9-man rotation, I don't think you have to play. I think you could settle on 1, is what I'm saying. All right, on Chicago, not a ton here. I'll mention Vooch as a contrarian spend up. No one's going to play him. He'll be like 5% owned. I mentioned him liking him last slate. He shot 5 of 18. If he just has a half-decent shooting game, he probably goes for 60 there, so that was really, really frustrating. No one's going to play him. I do prefer Jokic. I do prefer Giannis. I do prefer Sabonis, but hey, I like him as a pivot. Vooch, contrarian spend up. That's about it. All right, guys, we got 2 games left. Let's see. Do we have any more news? 15 minutes to go. Still nothing really. So, all right, let's finish up with Denver and Minnesota. So Jokic at the top. I think it looks like one of the better spend-ups of the slate. Now no Michael Porter Jr. Great matchup. This game should stay close. I think we get about 35 minutes from Jokic. So really like Jokic at the top. Again, I think one of the better plays of the slate for sure. With Michael Porter Jr. out, that is pretty significant. That's a big boost to basically everyone else in the starting lineup. So Campozo at 5'8". I think we get 35 minutes from him. He's a guy that can go out and get you the peripheral stats. I think he's a pretty safe play with upside. Aaron Gordon has really been bad, but maybe this is a game he finally breaks out in the offensive end I'm talking about. And, defense, he's been good. But, I'm talking for DFS, he's not been great, just kind of taking a back seat. We know, though, he's still a talented offensive player. We've seen some massive games from him when he was on the Magic, right? So he's still got it. I think Aaron Gordon's in consideration. I don't get super excited about it, but Austin Rivers probably starts and plays 30 minutes. I think he's for sure in consideration for value. And then keep an eye on the starting lineup. So my guess is going to be Jokic, Campozo, Gordon, Rivers, and then probably Millsap or JaMychal Green. Millsap's at 4K. He only played 15 minutes on the bench. If he starts here, I actually think he's a solid value play, not the worst point per minute guy. If he doesn't start, just be prepared. There's a chance he gets a DNP. That happened a couple games ago. He was popular in the higher dollar stuff, and he just didn't play off the bench. So be careful there if he doesn't start. JaMychal Green at 3.6. If he starts, I think he's a fair value. So right now, kind of waiting on what they do with the starting lineup. But yeah, Denver's definitely a team we have interest in. Short-handed, great matchup. On the Minnesota side, not as much. Cat, contrarian spend up, that's it. I think my favorite play is probably D'Angelo Russell. And it's just because I think he starts and plays about 35 minutes. In 3 of the last 5 games, 10, 14, and 11 assists. So he's having the ball in his hands a ton. So I think D'Lo's interesting here, below 8K, a guy that does have some upside for tournaments. Value, I'm probably going to stay away. Vanderbilt, Hernan Gomez, McDaniels will kind of mix around for that number 4, the 4 position. I don't really want to mess with that. Rubio 5'6" is a fair play that will be very low owned, but he has gone for 36, 28, and 36 in the last 3 games. A couple blowouts in there too. So I think we probably get about 30 minutes from Rubio, a guy that, can go out and get you, 8 to 10 assists. Like he can do that. So Rubio, again, worth a look, I guess. All right, Portland and Phoenix. So this is tricky. We'll get to the Phoenix side because of the Ayton injury, or Ayton, listed as questionable. We'll start with Portland. So Yusuf Nurkic at 7.2K. Hey, I was like, I like him low owned here, even though against the Jazz, because he's such a good point per minute guy. He played 32 minutes. He had an awful shooting game. He shot 20% from the field and went for 53 fantasy points. So I like Nurkic once again here. I think we get similar minutes. The Blazers have something to play for. He should get about 30, especially if DeAndre Ayton is out. Fire up some Yusuf Nurkic because he'll be matched up against Dario Saric and Frank Kaminsky. So Nurkic is a guy that will be low owned. Once again, I like him. Lillard, CJ are good tournament plays. This is a 230 plus over under. I don't think either are optimal, but what I always say about Portland, the guards in competitive games, they're going to play close to 40 minutes. 38 for CJ, 37 for Lillard. Nurkic played over 30. Those 3 I like for tournaments. My favorite being Yusuf Nurkic, especially if Ayton is out. Finally, on the Phoenix side, it just depends on DeAndre Ayton, right? He is currently questionable. That's huge, huge. Again, if Ayton's out, love Nurkic on the other side, but then we got to talk about value. Then I think, assuming Frank Kaminsky starts, he's actually been in the rotation over Saric. If he does start, I don't see how you get away from Frank Kaminsky. He's a good point per minute guy. If he starts, we probably get at least 25 minutes. I absolutely love Frank Kaminsky if DeAndre Ayton is out. The tricky part here is this is a late game, and if Frank Kaminsky is your last guy and DeAndre Ayton is ruled in, you're screwed, right? So this is one where it's like, are you willing to take that risk? Because if we get news that DeAndre Ayton is ruled out, maybe an hour before this game locks, that means all the other games would be locked. Kaminsky is going to be unowned. And he could absolutely smash, right, if he starts. So I absolutely love Frank Kaminsky if there's no DeAndre Ayton. Assuming he starts, they could start Sarge too. They could. But my guess it would be Kaminsky. Both would be in play. Would prefer Kaminsky, or would prefer whoever starts. My guess is it would be Kaminsky. So, pretty interesting one here. Because, again, 2-hour window from this game to the other games. And we probably won't get that Ayton news until all these games are locked. So it's, again, are you willing to take that risk? All right, and finally the guards. So Booker and Paul, it's a good matchup here. I like Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul's a pretty safe play with upside. He should play 32 to 34 minutes, 43, 42, 47 in the last 3 games. I like Chris Paul. I think Booker's a good tournament play too. He's got the upside, maybe a little bit of a lower floor. But yeah, both guards are in play. And then just monitor the DeAndre Ayton news. And, it's up to you on what you want to do with your lineup. So that is my breakdown, guys. Let's see. Do we have any more news to go over? Got about 10 minutes left for some questions. Tice rolled out. It doesn't do much. Thad Young probably starts, but how many minutes did he play last game? He played 24. I actually think he's a fair contrarian mid-range play. He shot terrible last game, but we know Thad Young's a guy that can go out and get you like 12 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, a couple blocks, a couple steals. So, I think he's at least worth a look with no Daniel Tice. Okay, so questions, leave them in the chat, guys. We're at almost 400 viewers and 115 likes, so thank you guys a lot. Tice out. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a ton. Doesn't do a ton for me. It just makes Thad Young at least playable. I'm taking the risk. Yeah, hey, it's right. I don't think it's the thing is, if DeAndre Ayton gets ruled in, I still think Kaminsky plays the backup 5 and plays about 15 minutes. So you wouldn't be totally dead. You would just have to hope Frank Kaminsky has a really good game off the bench. CP3 big game. I like him. Last piece in, Aaron Gordon and Jalen Harris or Flynn and Metu. I think it's Flynn and Metu right now. Utility 6.7K and below. All right, 6.7 and below. Let's take a look. Okay, so it would be John Collins if all those guys are out for the Hawks, but we don't know that yet. there's not much else here that I really like. I think Barrett, I guess, would be the number 2 guy, and it's just because the minutes, I really don't like playing him, but like that would probably be the next guy for me. NBA is like, yeah, exactly. DK, what early game is going to have the best value? Early game, I think the Pacers have a lot of good value right now. Favorite spend up guards? I think Chris Paul, I like a good amount at 8K? Where's Paul? 8K Paul. And then I think Ja and DeLon Wright are intriguing in that game, especially Ja if there's no Jonas Valanciunas. So I'm actually looking to spend up more at the forward and center position, but those are the guys I have interested in at the guard. Best forward option, 5,700 and under. Okay, let's take a look there. Yeah. I mean, slow-mo's solid if there's no JV. If JV's in, though, like, it's more of a secondary play. I would say probably slow-mo or Thad Young. Yeah. There's no, like, play I feel really good about, to be honest, in this range. Or you could go down to Aaron Gordon at 5-1, actually, and hope he just finally kind of breaks out with no Michael Porter Jr. Maybe it would be Aaron Gordon. Maybe slightly into Aaron Gordon just because the good matchup. Plus, I think he could finally have a good game here. Thoughts on Derrick Rose? I like him for tournaments. Not really a cash game play, but he's been great off the bench. Yeah, I think Aaron Gordon looks pretty solid. Vooch, no, not a must. I think Vooch is just a contrarian spend up. 3.5K or below? Yeah, I mean, you got, let's see. Actually, I don't know if there's anything right now, unless we get some, like 3. Okay, so like maybe, right, if the Hawks guys are out, maybe Lou Williams. I mean, how many minutes did McDaniels play the last game? He only played 26. I guess he's viable. There's not much here, though. Not much right now. Maybe things change, and a couple, like maybe Keelan Martin, just because I think he probably plays about 20 minutes in this game. Or Kaminsky. I will say Kaminsky. Kaminsky's at 3-2. If DeAndre Ayton is out, it's Kaminsky, but or Sarge, but we don't know that yet. So hard to say. CP3 and Booker okay in the same lineup. If I'm doing that, I'm just stacking the game. If I'm playing CP3 and Booker, I'm running it back with Nurkic or one of the guards in Portland. Do you like D'Angelo Russell? I think he's a good GPP play. Campazzo or Flynn? Slight lean to Campazzo right now. But, yeah, DK, no interest in Levine tonight. It's just at a price where I don't think it makes sense. Right? I think there's better spend-ups. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to Levine. Yeah, I think Aaron Gordon looks pretty solid. I wouldn't play Brissett at that price. I would rather get to the cheaper guys. You think O'Shea plays even the game starts to blow out? Yeah, O'Shea should. Because remember a couple weeks ago when it was an 8-man rotation and Brissett would start, and those couple games where the game would blow out, and he just played all the garbage time. So, yes, I think he does. Keelan Martin, sneaky value. He's fine. He's fine. TJ McConnell and Justin Holiday, good plays. I think they're two of the better plays of the slate. The Pacers have no one. Like, they should... I'm assuming both start and both play 30-plus minutes. Will Trae Young be in a minutes restriction? I don't think so, unless we get minutes, unless we get news. CP3, Rose, Gordon, Matt 2, Kaminsky, McConnell, Randall, and Ja. I think it's a good tournament lineup. Dylan Brooks, not for me. Sarge is forward eligible. DK, what an early game that has best value? Yeah, so again, the Pacers, feeling good about FanDuel lineup. Chris Paul, Ja, Russell, okay. Yeah, just waiting the Hawks news. RGS Keelan at 26 minutes. I could see it. I mean, I think he plays about 20. If I had to guess, he plays about 20. Unless he starts. If he starts, then you can project him for more. If he comes to the bench, I think we had about 20 for Keelan. Flynn, Booker, Gordon, Sabonis, Nurk, McConnell, Metu, Kaminsky. I like it. Again, though, like Kaminsky, right, really only playable if Ayton's out. And he would become a great play. It's just a tricky one. No love for Batum. No thanks. Brissett in play. Would rather get to other Pacers. Ja, yes, especially if there's no Jonas Valanciunas. I like Ja a good amount. What coach are we going to get mad at tonight? Good luck, brother. Thanks, man. Thanks, Mike. I'm trying to think. What's going to happen here? Probably the Raptors, maybe. Because if Boucher ends up playing, I might look to get him. And then I assume if I play him, he's going to play like 20 minutes like Kelly Olynyk last night. So that's probably how it goes. Justin Holiday or Mo Harkless? It's going to be Justin Holiday for me right now. Thanks, DK. I might put Kaminsky in utility, fingers crossed. Yeah, it's up to you, right? It's a pretty high-risk, high-reward play if we don't get that news before other games lock, because then you're kind of out of luck. JV game time decision, okay. What do you have people sign up for Patreon? So private roster construction videos every day for the main and showdown slate. You get a player pool of cash GPP plays and if-then statements for injuries. Like if this player's out, then this and this. And then finally the live Patreon stream where I tell people exactly where I'm going, how to attack the slate, what I think is the optimal build, what I like to kind of differentiate. So that's what you get with NBA. Is it possible Sabonis could soak up all the usage and hurt the Pacers' value? No. I mean, he's already gonna be high usage guy, but no, the Pacers value looks great. Sabonis and Giannis together, I think it's a really good pairing for GPPs. Again, what I'm worried about though is the blowout, right? Potential for a blowout. Best cash spend up. Jokic, Giannis, Sabonis. That's where we want to look for cash. Brzdeikis gets extra run. I don't trust the Magic rotation right now. LaMelo, Levine, McConnell, or Campazzo, Justin Holiday, Sabonis. You might have to ask that question again. Sorry. TJ, Campazzo, Gordon, Boucher, Frank Kaminsky, Flynn, Sabonis, Nurkic. Looks pretty solid. Jokic greater than Giannis. It's a tricky one. I think it's really close. Jokic probably plays a little bit more. If no MPJ, does get a pretty big boost. I think it's close to a coin flip there. Yeah. Nurkic hasn't played 24 plus minutes in back-to-back. Would not play him, DK. I'm not worried about it. There's been no limits. I'm pretty sure actually he was on pace. Okay, hold on. Let's go. Let me just go to this really quick. Let me go to the game log for Nurkic. Where's the last back-to-back? Okay, so yeah, he was on pace to play 30 in this one. That game was a huge blowout. Yeah, I'm not super worried about Nurkic in his minutes. I think he plays 30 again. Brissett, slow-mo, or Thad Young. Yeah, it's probably. I mean, Brissett, I guess, with all those guys out for the pace. I don't know. That one I don't have a super strong take on. I think it's basically coin flip. I think Thad Young is fine. I'm not really going out of my way to play him though. Ford under 3,800. Let's see. All right, wrapping up, guys. Got a couple more minutes. 3,800 and Ford. Yeah, I mean, if it's an 8-man rotation, I'm fine playing Stanley Johnson, even though he's been awful. But he probably plays like 25-ish minutes. You have JaMychal Green for Denver. If he starts, I like that. So a couple of viable options. Like Randall. D Rose is out. Okay. Huh. Let's refresh that. Let's talk about this. That actually is pretty significant. Alec Burks, though, available to play. Quickly available to play, too. Okay. So D Rose out, Quickly and Burks in. I was going to say if Quickly and Burks were out, then like Alfred Payton would be someone I would look to. I'm still worried about this point guard rotation. I think it's going to be a combination of Quickly, Alfred Payton, even Alec Burks a little bit. I do think all three of those guys are now at least in play. I just don't have a good read on who the minutes are really going to go to for those other point guards for the Knicks. So if you want to take a shot in either Quickly, Payton, or Alec Burks, that's perfectly fine. It's just not something that I'm like, okay, I know exactly where these minutes are going to go. So that's the tricky part with that. Yeah, it's really just kind of a toss-up with Quickly, Burks, even Alfred Payton. I'm not sure how they're going to kind of split up the minutes. So I do think all three are in play, but right, like I don't know if one really gets like all of the minutes. Like I don't think like Quickly is going to come from injury and play 30 minutes. I think it might be a pretty even split, like maybe like 15 to 20 from Alf, 15 to 20 from Quickly, maybe a little bit of point guard run from Burks and a little bit at the two. So, right, it's just a tough one. I don't have a good read on it. Hero, no, definitely not a lock because Dragic and Nunn are in there too. I think all three hover around 30 minutes. It's not the best matchup either. If Butler's out, Hero's good. He's fine. Again, though, yeah, I know he's been playing really well, but like I don't love the spot against Philly. Barrett and for Rose or reconstruct my lineup. I mean, Barrett's fine. He'll play the big minutes, but I think you can definitely – I mean, it's up to you. I don't know what the rest of your lineup looks like, so it's kind of hard to say. I think Barrett is still fine. Like if you're like, oh, can you play Barrett? Yes. RJ Barrett is definitely playable because he's going to play massive minutes. All right, guys, let me refresh one more time, and then I'll get out of here. Appreciate everyone coming to check out the stream. Again, we hit, I think, close to 400 viewers. We definitely hit over 100 likes, so really do appreciate all support from you guys. And, yeah, that's going to do it for me. Good luck. Just monitor that news, right? We're still waiting on a lot of news, so keep an eye on that. Enjoy your day. I'll be back here tomorrow. As always, we got counting this one, we got 4 days left. 4 days left. So Trey is in. Okay, let's go back to Atlanta really quick. Then I do have to get out of here. So We got Trey in, Gallinari available, Bogdan available, Capella. Okay, so everyone's available. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of just one where it's like, all right, now I'm not really on the Hawks. I'm worried about the blowout. Everyone's playing for the Hawks. Like, if you want to take darts on Trey or Bogdan for GPPs, that's fine. But the value now I'm kind of just staying away from for the Hawks. So with that, I'll wrap it up. Good luck, guys, and I'll be back here tomorrow.